Thank you very much, Geraldine. Now, having lost family members to cancer, I know only too well how grief can take over your life. And as part of our AM Fight Cancer Week, we caught up with Pippa O'Connor and Norah Casey about supporting the Marie Keating Foundation and how the support and the mobile units help thousands of families across the country. Norah and Pippa, lovely to see you this evening. And you have been both big supporters of the Marie Keating Foundation over the years, especially you, Pippa. You and Brian have been here since nearly day one.
Yes, well, unlike my husband, I'm not a golfer. He's an avid golfer and he's always supported the foundation through, I suppose, being here and partaking and everything. And I think one of my first jobs I did back in my early modelling days was supporting the Marie Keating Foundation through photo calls and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, a long time now, and it's always one that I try to make myself available for.
And it's great that, I mean, we've all been touched, we all know families who are involved in cancer, but for them to sort of do something about it when Marie died, to sort of go, look, we're just going to do something about this. We don't want other people to feel like we're feeling. And that's what they've done. And it's amazing work that they've done over the years.
Absolutely. To think that something is a good idea is one thing, but to actually get up off your backside and do something about it is, you know, the Keating family are an absolute credit, and I'm sure, you know, their mom would be so proud. The work that they've done over the 20 years, it really is astounding.
And I know you've said to me before that you know people that have gone to their mobile units, yes, and the awareness then that they've got from going to those mobile units has helped them.
Like you said, I think we all know someone who's been affected by cancer, especially breast cancer. I know a lot of people affected by breast cancer, and I have heard, you know, through friends and relations of mine, just how good that the mobile units have been, and just the information that they've gotten, and they've just been made feel less, I suppose, scared, and just provided with correct information that's really helped them. So I just think that that in itself is amazing. Yeah.
Norah, like myself, I've lost a brother and a sister, and you lost your dear Richard to cancer. And I mean, it's a terrible thing to go through, but like what they're doing is helping and trying to inform people of, and you can get through it, and they give the information and the support after somebody goes.
It's so true that when something, our life experiences actually determine what happens to us. And you have two choices. You can be bowed down. When Richard died, I could have crawled under a bed and never come out again. But actually, I felt I could do some good. And I think that the Marie Keating Foundation has done such tremendous good by the family giving testimony. It's the hardest thing in the world. You know yourself that when somebody you love dies of cancer, you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to put yourself out there. You don't want to make yourself vulnerable. But yet if you do, you're helping other people. When it comes to cancer, the two most important areas for me, myself personally, I lost a chunk of my breast. I don't talk about it very often, but for that...
How did you find out about that? Was that through self-examination?
Yes, and that's because I was a nurse and I knew about those things. And probably pre the Marie Keating days, when the awareness wasn't so high about self-examination, and since then I've done Feel Yourselfie and all sorts of other things to try and help people to understand about breast examination, because I know when Richard got diagnosed, our lives were devastated. It wasn't just...
What cancer did he have?
So he started off with cancer of the kidney, and at the time when they first diagnosed it, they said, that's fine, we'll take the kidney out and then we'll do some chemotherapy. And then 3 weeks later, they found 3 more in his liver. They found 2 in his spine. Within 4 weeks, my beautiful husband, who, by the way, the night before his diagnosis was out dancing, partying with me. He said he had a pain in his back. I was saying, you have too many glasses of wine there now, Richard. And they found 3 in his spine. And they decided that because he was so unwell within those few weeks, they do some radiotherapy to help the tumours reduce. But they split his spinal cord, and so he was in a wheelchair within a month. And so when we talk about comfort at home, I don't think people really understand. It wasn't just stepping off a cliff. I just fell off it. We both did. And we had a child at the time. Dara was quite young. He was 11. And, you know, suddenly he was in a wheelchair. My whole house had to be adjusted. I didn't even know how to do that. I didn't know how we lived upstairs in the house. I didn't know how we were going to cope with him being upstairs. He didn't want to be in hospital. We still thought there was a chance that he was going to survive, so obviously we were in hospital every morning at 5 o'clock. The news just got worse and worse. Within a few months, we were faced with hospice care. and putting his affairs in order. If I didn't have the support of good family and friends, my life would have, when I say fell apart, I paid no bills. Nothing in my house happened. Very good friends of mine, Marie Keating, for instance, used to turn up and she'd put some platters of food in my kitchen. If people didn't do that, nothing happened in my life. Because my entire focus was getting Richard to the hospital every day, getting his bloods, seeing if I could get his treatment. The moment you wake up in the morning, it just hits you that something this devastating has just happened to you in your life. What I do love about this campaign, and the reason why I think people should really support it, is if you put yourself, which is a terrible, terrible thought, into the shoes of somebody like me or you who are losing somebody that you love very much and trying to cope with such devastation in your life, you just need people around you who are going to mind you, hug you, look after you, do all the things you're incapable of doing.
And I love the fact that these mobile units go to every county and village and small village in the country, so people are not, they don't feel, oh, I don't live in Dublin, I don't live in Galway, I'm in a little village, and who's going to help me or who's going to give me that information? Because they will, with the mobile units, they'll get to those areas.
Yeah, it's all about awareness then, really, isn't it? Because I know myself, I have 2 young boys, and the last thing in my mind is like, oh, I might get breast cancer, but we should all be aware of it and all be checking ourselves.
And how are you, Mrs.?
I'm good. You know what, it's 6 years since Richard passed away. We were just up at his tree. I thought it would actually starve during that heat wave, but actually it's thriving. And I think that about my boy too.
He proposed to you at that tree, yes.
At that tree.
Yeah.
We're just, you know, it's near the Pope's Cross, very involved in the papal
in the Phoenix
visit.
Park, yeah.
When he passed away, because the Phoenix Park is my life, my mum lives there, my dad, my granddad, they planted a new oak tree to replace it. And, you know, when I went back to see it on Sunday, here it was now tall, not small anymore, and green and blossoming. And my boy, it sounds mad, but Darren and I talked to the tree. I know, it's crazy. Yeah. But
Richard is there.
Richard's there, and his ashes were in the forest and the little copse of trees behind it. You know, when his dad was dying, the final words he said is, I'll miss all the moments in your life, Dara. I'll miss you graduating, I'll miss you marrying, I'll miss you having your first child. So Dara goes back there
to tell him the stories.
Yeah, because he's just finished his first year at university. He did really well. I'm really proud of him. He's a great kid, and I think Richard would be really proud of him too.
Well, all I can say is thank you both very much for supporting our Week on Ireland AM and the Marie Keating Foundation, and thank you very much. And I suppose we just have to thank Norah, because she doesn't open up very, very often like that. And
do you know what she did, though? No, do you know what she did? She posted a brilliant picture that people don't often understand, see, unless they've been actually through it. And she painted that picture of what it's like to be, and no, it sounds selfish, to be the one left behind, because there's the heartbreak, there's the guilt that maybe you didn't do enough, or you weren't kind enough, or you had rows or whatever, and there's sometimes a huge change in financial circumstances or family circumstances, and she painted all of that, and it was very raw.
And very real, and very honest.
I think the thing is that if somebody in your life has passed away, that even though you think they're only in the periphery, it does no harm to give them a ring every couple of months or couple of weeks, just to keep in touch.
Because what she also spoke about there so clearly is what it does to your life in that moment when you get a diagnosis. And that's why we're supporting the Comfort Fund here, because as she says, the fridge wasn't filled, the bills weren't paid, you're not in that space, and a lot of the time an income is just completely decimated, is lost from a house. The Comfort Fund is there to just help people out when they're dealing with something so traumatic. Thank you, Norah.
We just got a text. It's a gorgeous text. Morning, folks. Yesterday, my mum, Rita Bean, returned home after spending 6 weeks in Dublin receiving radiotherapy for breast cancer. She's sitting beside me here right now in her PJs, and I couldn't ask for more. I love her fight, her tenacity, and her pancakes. Ma'am, you are amazing. Look up the word everything in the dictionary, and your name is right there. Love you so much, Paula.
Lovely message.
Very sweet.
And
don't forget, there's still time to donate. And all you need to do is text Marie to 50300.